YouTube, this is Danielle, the domestic scientist, and in today's video I'm going to do a decorative sphere DIY, so stay tuned. I happened to be out shopping at a local furniture store and I saw this Dobo that had some really cool decorative spheres in it, and I thought it would be a really fun DIY. So I'm going to attempt to do this decorative sphere using some rope that I found at a farm supply store. And to bring everything together, I am going to use hot glue as my adhesive. Now with using the hot glue, I just want to make sure that I'm constantly pressing firmly until it starts to dry so that I get that perfect shape. Okay, so this rope was in the shrink wrap when I purchased it, and I was not really aware of just how thick and tough this rope is until I opened it. I'm not going to be able to cut this with some scissors. I'm going to go ahead and just use a wire cutter so that I can sever the rope and make a smaller portion for me to work with. The other thing that I noticed about this rope is it does have a lot of little fibers that are sticking out, so it's not going to have that perfectly smooth texture that I would prefer. That being said, it is very stiff, and I think that stiffness is going to help it to hold the shape as I continue to wrap the cords in kind of an abstract pattern. So I'm going to continue to go ahead and continue building up this sphere. Now, one of the things that I noticed about the original is that they did have a solid center in theirs, and so it looks like they were able to just make more figure 8 patterns because they didn't have to worry as much about holding up a structure. Now, I didn't have, well, actually I have some styrofoam balls, but because of the hot glue and because it's not the same color of the thread, I didn't want to have to try to paint the styrofoam or cover it with any material, and then I didn't want to have to use hot glue on styrofoam because that can be a bit of a nightmare. So I'm going to go with an open center that's a lot more like the twig spheres that I already have, and so I'm just going to continue to twist and to glue it down. Now, that being the case, the thread I'm using is also, or this rope that I'm using is also a lot stiffer than the one that I saw at the other store. So I don't have the ability to really squish down the rope at any point. So as I am thinking about which direction I want to glue the rope in, I'm looking at the one that's going to give me the most contact between the new piece of rope and the piece of rope that I'm gluing it down to, because I need it to hold and to glue. So this means I don't have the same amount of flexibility with my patterns, so I'm going to just twist and glue and kind of see what becomes of it. Okay, so now that I've completed both of my decorative spheres, I'm going to go ahead and start using them in my dough bowl. I have a very long dough bowl that I purchased from Hobby Lobby earlier this year. I actually purchased 2 of them because I like the nice rustic finish that they have, and because they're so long, they go very well on my large dining room table. Today I'm only going to decorate one of these, and I'm going to feature these pink pumpkins. Now, these pumpkins are originally white, and I did paint them pink earlier this fall in a DIY video. So my strategy for doing this dough bowl is to put down my largest items first, and then I'm going to use smaller items to fill in the gaps. So for my large items, I have my new DIY rope spheres that I made, and then I also have some twig spheres. I want to make sure that everything I'm using in here is either pink or has some really deep green in it, and mostly it's going to be natural wood type colors. I have some very large acorns as well that I'm going to use in this arrangement, and I think it's going to turn out well. Now, when it comes to doing dough bowl decorations, for me, it's something that I'm really learning to do, and so the more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay, so now that I completed my dough bowl, I'm going to move it over to my dining room table where I'm going to use it as a centerpiece. And once I moved it to the table, I decided to make a couple more changes, and I'll walk you through it. I did originally use those 3 pumpkins in the dough bowl, but then I decided to take out the 2 small pumpkins, and on each side of the dough bowl, I'm using my glass gnome from Pier 1. I put in 1 pink pumpkin, and then behind it, I stood up my mini cheese board that I also purchased from Hobby Lobby. Now in the dough bowl, I replaced the pink pumpkins with 2 large white pumpkins that also came from Hobby Lobby as well. So I love a good dough bowl, especially when it comes to a tablescape. I have a very large dining table and I do like to put something large scale on it when it comes to decorations. So dough bowls are very common when you see restoration hardware tables. Oftentimes they do very simple tables in their showroom and they just fill their dough bowls with decorative spheres or decorative moss. Now for today, I've chosen to go with more of an earthy look to highlight my DIY. Now this tablescape is in honor of breast cancer awareness, so you will notice that there are some nice pops of pink all around the table. So when it comes to the place setting that I'm using, I just used a very simple white placemat that I purchased from Home Goods. And then I have a pink charger plate that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. On top of that, I have a dinner plate that is white and gold, and those came from At Home. And then each of my place settings has a nice seasonal type topping. So I have beautiful salad plates all in pink. And then in the center two place settings, I have these gold and tan bowls. So I used a tan napkin on each of my place settings, and for my napkin rings I'm using these glam napkin rings. Now both of them actually look like rings. One of them looks like my engagement ring and the other one looks like that flower ring that Samantha bought at the auction on the Sex and the City movie. So I absolutely love the way this came out. I did mix a little bit of glam with a lot of rustic features. Let me know what you think of today's tablescape and my DIY. Now today's video is a part of a YouTube collaboration. It is the Breast Cancer Awareness DIY video, and the host for today's collaboration is Glamour Ellen. I'll have a link to her channel in my description box below. Be sure to check her out. She is a wonderful YouTuber and she does some really great work. Now, I'm Danielle, the domestic scientist. I do have a lifestyle channel here on YouTube. I do a lot of decorating and cooking, and there's so much more to come on my channel. I would love it if you would join me along my journey, so be sure to subscribe.